Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Vermont. Uh, Even though I said otherwise in part 3 of the video, that I was not going to do guy wires or reinforcements on the mast, I've been thinking about it a few days. And so to start part 4 of this series, I'm going to put some wires on this mast. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to secure weld the upper mast to the lower mast so that it's electrically bonded, and so that it can't lift off, in a high wind event or anything like that. So that's one thing. I'm gonna secure that positively, the 2 pieces together. And then the second thing I'm going to do is put on some reinforcing guy wires, stiffeners. One, probably, I'll show you a sketch. One wire on the upper mast down to the far end of the triangle, just to stiffen it up against leaning outward. And then in a more complicated fashion, 3 wire bridges down the main mast. From the top, just beneath the triangle, the point of the triangle, out over a standoff, and sort of like a tension wire bridge, back down to the main mast. I'll have to guess where to terminate it, just above where the tripod will mount. So that's what I've decided to do. Hopefully it goes well. Well, I'll cut them off and grind it smooth and paint it. But that's what I'm aiming for here in part 4. So let's get to it. Okay, so the process for this, I've got a 1/16 inch wire rope and some crimps, aluminum crimps, and a thimble. So you got to open this thimble up and stretch it around the eyelet. And thread the crimp on first. You probably all have done this. And this is a bit of a trick. You want to get that drawn up tight and try to squeeze that thimble back closed, that we had to open it up. Okay. Get that as tight as you can and put some crimps. Tell you what, these fencing pliers, what I'm using now, they're about the handiest tool ever invented, next to the M1 Garand. I think fencing pliers come in second. Okay, it's pretty good. Okay, here's the first cable in place. So you can see the termination, the thimble and a crimp. Some people put 2 crimps. I have in the past. Hopefully this will stay. And then running down here, don't forget, these are those eyelets that we welded closed. Thread one of those on before you terminate this cable. So that's in place. And moving down here, again, same story on the bottom. And just use some pliers and pull this snug, as tight as you can get it. You know, wire doesn't stretch, that's the idea. Just pull it as tight as you can get it and crimp that in place. So, you know, it's not very tight, but we'll take care of that in a minute. So what I want to show you is just, I'm going to do 2 more wires, just like that. So there'll be 3 in place. And once I get that completed, we'll come back and I'll show you what I've got planned for here. We're gonna stretch these wires using these standoffs in some way. I'm not sure what I'll use to fasten that, but we'll want to pull the same tension approximately in the center of this wire on all 3, and that will stiffen up the mast. So that's the idea. Well, that's going to complete what is now part 4 of this antenna mast series. Didn't really anticipate doing this step with the tensioner wires, but I guess I had time to think it over, and I thought, what would it hurt? So never mind the trees I've got growing out of my gutter. You can see the retaining wire up on the upper mast. That will keep the mast from flexing outward too much, as I have both the long wire and the dual band antenna hanging up there. And then these 3 tension wires, you can see how I've got them secured at the top of the T, and they stretch out like guitar strings over these bridges. And I decided to put in a piece of plastic hose wrapped around the wire to help ease their transition through those eyelets. And then they progress down past my ground stud that you saw being welded on, and they're retained down here. I tried to get them about 120 degrees apart. I think I was mostly successful. Close enough for me. So that should do it. I think with this, as long as this still fits in the tripod up north, I think we'll be in business. And that will be part 5 of the video. So thanks for watching. Welcome to Vermont. I hope you had a nice visit, and I'll catch you on the next one.